Hello, everybody. Can you hear us? Can you see us? You should be able to, in theory. Hi, everybody. I'm Aster. I am the Finji CM. I am so excited to be here with the Richards, Hogg, and Haggett today to talk about one of my personal favorite Finji games, Wilmot's Warehouse, among many, many other of the incredibly cool and strange and playful games that they have created over the years. Would you two like to introduce yourselves? Maybe we'll start with Ricky.
Hello, I'm Ricky Haggett. I am a game designer and a programmer. I run a little studio called Holopons, based mostly in the UK. We live in East London. Yeah.
Awesome.
My turn. Hello, I'm Richard Hogg. I am a game designer and I am a visual artist. I'm the art guy. I've been making games with Ricky for over 15 years, something like that. Before that we were in a band together.
Were you?
Yeah. I live in Hastings in on the south coast of England, and
I think it's about 18 years.
18
Not since we released something, but about 18 years since we started making Hohokum together.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I hope we get to hear a little bit more about the band today.
Be careful what you wish for.
Do we have any old photos of the band? We should have gotten that ready.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Well, I'm, like I said, so genuinely excited to be chatting with you both today. Meeting with you is always so much fun. So I know it's going to be a great conversation. Hi, everybody in chat. I see some hellos in there. It's great to see you all. Welcome in. We have quite a lot of things that we want to chat about today. So we're just going to get started. July has been a really big month for both of you. There is a lot to celebrate, everything from a new Wilmot's Warehouse board game to a game release. So we've got to start by congratulating you on Flock. It is impeccable. I'm knee deep in crafting sweaters and collecting weirdo birds, creatures, and just absolutely loving everything about it. But for those of us that maybe are in the chat that haven't had the chance to play Flock, we'd love to hear a little bit about it. Can maybe tell us a little bit about what it is and maybe how it came to be?
Yeah, sure. Flock's the game that we started making after Wilmot's Warehouse. Is that right? Oh no, we made I Am Dead as well. So yeah, our games overlap a bit sometimes.
Yeah.
Flock it took us about 4 years to make Flock, though, quite a long time, 3 or 4 years. It's published by Annapurna. It is a kind of very chill, open world game that you can either play single player or multiplayer, and it's a kind of a game where you fly around. You're a little guy riding a bird, and you're collecting all these other little creatures, and the gameplay is kind of finding the creatures, identifying the creatures, and then convincing them to join you in a flock. So you have an increasingly large flock of little fellas who follow you around wherever you go as you explore the world. And it's like all the games we make. It's quite, hopefully like all the games we make, it's quite a chill, sort of a non-stressful game. It's got amazing music by Ellie Rainsbury. Have I said the right things, Ricky?
Yeah. It feels really nice to be the bird. Like one of the big inspirations when we started was like when we made I Am Dead, that was our first 3D game, and it was a very silly 3D game to make because we came off the back of making Wilmot's Warehouse into like making a 3D game, and then we spent most of the time figuring out how to like render the insides of things and just doing loads of like strange things that you don't normally do with the 3D engine. And so when we finished that game and we were like, okay, what should we do next? Let's make another 3D game. We were quite keen to make one that kind of was a bit more normal in some ways, like a bit more like yeah, just had like regular stuff, regular cameras, regular characters in some ways. And one of the big inspirations was just like, hey, what if we made a thing that was a bit like Hohokum? What if we made a thing that had that same feeling of just like
People probably don't know what Hohokum is, Ricky.
Yeah,
We'll
so
come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. But yeah, like those two games definitely share some DNA, and they both are games about the way that you move around the world feeling really nice, and it feeling just very like a bit like flying a kite maybe, or just an element of like performative, like just moving around being fun and fun for its own sense, like going from A to B is more than just you're just like you're enjoying the feeling of doing it.
Like how birds are. Like you look out your window and
Yeah.
you see like, I don't know, swifts or swallows flying around in the summer, and they just look like they're really having a good time, and they never crash into anything, and they loop around screaming at each other and just looking like they're really enjoying the kind of game feel of being a bird. And whereas a lot of video games, I don't want to like be down on other games, but a lot of video games where you're a bird, you spend a lot of time crashing into things. And we wanted to make a game where you're like a bird and you have that sense of kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Fluency with flight, so that you will never crash into anything because you're just really good at it. And because we make games, like we love to make games where there are no fail states. Like that, we've made a few games now where there are no fail states, and that's like a thing that's like quite weird, but suits our kind of philosophy about games, I guess. And so this game's a bit like that. But there are fail states in the sense that when you're trying to charm the creatures, sometimes they don't want to join you, and they escape, so you kind of fail. But in the sense of flying, how you move in the game, you don't ever crash.
I don't think I even thought about the fact that I couldn't crash, but
Yeah.
You're completely you describe it perfectly, because it is just like joyous to fly around in that game. Like I literally just spend time flying around and looking at like the beautiful lighting it's just so beautiful. If you're in the chat and you haven't picked it up and you haven't seen it, please play it, because it's absolutely gorgeous.
Or at least like watch a trailer or something.
At least.
It's weird for me because I've never, obviously we're here, we've made Wilmot's Warehouse. Anyone knows my stuff, it's mostly very flat, two-dimensional, very limited palette, thing. So to suddenly be making a game where it's like naturalistic lighting and it's got a day-night cycle and it's quite atmospheric, there's lots of like beautiful kind of sunrises and sunsets and mist on the water and all that kind of thing. And I'm not even good enough. I'm not even very good at making the concept art for that. Never mind making the actual thing, because my visual style is way more simple and graphic than that. So it was a big learning curve for me making a game that has all that going on in it. It was good though, really fun.
You did make a bunch of kind of more impressionistic paintings, like things that are less flat when we were making concept art for this game. That wasn't like, obviously the game doesn't look exactly like that, but it definitely gave Richard, the technical artist, a sort of sense of the vibe, right?
Like I can do that stuff. I did go to art college. Yeah. I can. But but it's not my natural comfort zone is like the fewest colors possible. How can this image be made out of like the least number of objects and the least number of colors, really like pared down. So to suddenly be having like, this is like the mist rolling in off the wetlands at dawn, that's a really different thing to try and capture in an image that I'm not that good at. But
well, you did a hell of a job. So
yeah, the final thing. Yeah, we were being interviewed about Flock earlier today, and I was just singing the praises of technical artists. So maybe some people watching don't know what a technical artist is, but it's the person who works on a video game who does all that stuff. Like making everything look beautiful in like a 3D engine kind of game. And I am in awe of what they do. It's really really amazing.
It's a lot of maths. It's a lot of maths, right? And it's also a lot of art.
Yeah, it's an interesting job for anyone.
Those things.
Yeah, anyone who's watching this who's like, I'm a kind of a programmer, but I also like photography, or I also like painting watercolors. You should become a technical artist because you need to have both those bits in your brain. I only have one of them, but
I
you
gotta
need,
say I
yeah.
have neither. So.
Oh, Aster.
Well, congratulations. It's a beautiful game. I can't wait to keep playing it. And you two have made, we were talking about this earlier, but you two have made quite a lot of games together now. So we have I Am Dead, Hohokum, Frobisher Says, Poto and Kabanga.
Yeah.
And of course, the Finji favorite, Wilmot's Warehouse,
Yeah.
which is on the screen here behind us.
Hey.
How did this partnership come to be? Did it start with the band? Is that the lore?
No.
Yeah,
No, it's before
kind
that.
of.
No, it's
Well,
before that.
sort of. Okay, it started with me being in a band and Ricky being this weird guy that came to all our gigs.
I see.
No, before that. Yeah, it's before that. Even before
All right.
that. It
Okay.
started with you needing to get rid of your Amiga 1200.
Oh yeah.
And
I'd forgotten
me
about
being
that.
someone that wanted to take your Amiga 1200 and store it in a loft and then move it to successive lofts and cellars for the next 2 decades.
Yeah. Do they have Amigas in America? Do they have them?
I was going to say I don't know what that is.
It's a
And I
90s.
don't know if that's
It's
a
a
new
late.
thing.
It's a late 80s, early 90s computer, a bit like an Atari ST.
Okay.
And the one that's more well known is the Amiga 500. But I think mine was a 1000 actually, but it was an older thing. And they were a popular computer in the UK in that kind of.
Lots of people who make video games in the UK started making video games on the Amiga.
On that.
Well,
Okay.
Like people my age who didn't ever have a Spectrum or a C64, the Amiga was the one, I would say.
Anyway, I had an old one, and Ricky was like a friend of a friend who wanted it, so we met up and I gave it to him, and we had a chat.
That pub in Hackney that's now closed
Oh yeah,
down.
I was in a bad place. I'd just been made redundant from a job, and I was not very happy when that happened. Anyway,
and we were chatting about video games. I was making mobile games at the
yeah,
time when mobile games were only just about a thing, where you could just about make a game run on a mobile phone, but it wouldn't be that fun to make or play. You know,
Ricky won a BAFTA. Ricky won a BAFTA for some weird game he played on a Nokia phone.
Really? Which one?
Yeah, I did. It's called Bluetooth biplanes.
Okay, I gotta look this up after.
I think that's the funniest thing ever. Sorry, it just sounds terrible. Bluetooth biplanes.
Yeah, it's a game of. It's like that classic. Like there's a biplanes game where two biplanes are on screen flying around, and you can you have to shoot each other down. It's like 2-player, and you can play it with Bluetooth.
It sounds great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's BAFTA winning, so it's gotta be.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, fast forward a couple of years, and then I'm in this band, and there's Ricky's still like a friend of a friend, but starts coming to gigs and he then gets us into other gigs, and there's a bit of a kind of scene going on, and eventually there's an opening in a band because we lost our guitarist. And Ricky went from being this person who we sort of knew, who we saw a lot at gigs, and he always had opinions about our songs. And then he joined the band. He became a member of the band.
Then I had even more opinions.
And he had even more opinions. Ricky's a really good singer.
I was gonna say, what did you do in the band? Like, who played what?
Oh, I play bass guitar.
Okay.
And Ricky played lead guitar.
Not
rhythm
really.
guitar?
Yeah.
Just guitar.
I don't know, just guitar.
And backing vocals. Ricky did backing vocals as well. And we were in that band for a long time. But then we started. That's when we really got to know each other quite well, and we started making games together. In our spare.
Really just a game, right? Like we made the game Hohokum, which was always called Hohokum, but ended up being about 5 separate games over the course of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I reckon starting in 2006, and we finally figured out what Hohokum was in 2010, which is when we first showed it publicly.
Then it came out.
Sort of timeline.
Yeah.
And then it came out.
2014. So we were just sort of. It started off as a hobby, and then we started entering things like we started going to indie stuff. So we would enter it into Indiecade.
Yeah.
IGF, a Fantastic Fest, trying to get it into those
festivals, yeah,
into those kinds of festivals. And that was our kind of route. That was our route to it not being a hobby anymore and it being a thing that we were making a living from. But it took a long time to do that, to achieve that. Yeah.
And Hohokam started it all.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. And if anyone doesn't know about Hohokam, it's a game. It was a PlayStation 3 game. Was that right? PlayStation
and
3,
4.
PlayStation 4.
3, 4, and Vita.
Yeah, and
All the
it's like a quite very ambient game where you are like a flying wormy snake-like thing that explores lots of different places, and little guys ride around on the back of you, and it's very it's one of those games that doesn't really tell you anything. It's got no text in it really.
It's an art game.
It's an art game.
Yeah.
It's probably more famous for its soundtrack than for the actual game.
You know you're making an art game because you don't have to make a tutorial.
Yeah.
Because it's art, yeah? You don't go to an art gallery and get a tutorial.
Well, you do these days, don't you? You go to an art gallery now and there's signs everywhere telling you what you should think about all the art.
I saw an interview. I think it was it a Fantastic Arcade interview? I saw an interview that you two did, and you said something along the lines of something that you like to have in your games is a little guy, and I realized that's really true. Like, it's really true. Like, you definitely
that was
like
before little guys were a thing as well. I think little guys are more of a thing these days.
Because of us, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you might have started it. Yeah, because you said that
pioneers
like
of the
7 years
movement.
I think we're amongst the first people to put a little guy in our games.
Yeah. And you have a real brand now.
No, obviously there's been little guys in games since the 1970s, and it's not a new thing. And we're not claiming any. No. Yeah, all the best games have little guys.
They do. But you also describe your games as strange and playful, which I think is really, really apt. I'm curious, what has drawn you to creating such, I'm going to use the word whimsical because that's what I always think when I play your games. I don't know if you like that name.
I asked a few years ago, quite a long time ago now, I was invited to do a talk at the Nordic Game Conference, and I did a whole talk, which was basically a rant about how much I hate the word whimsical.
Okay, I will stop.
No, but it's funny. No, but it's totally relevant to what we do. I get it, right? I get it. But I think it's been overused in the game space a little bit. But the talk was a disaster because all these lovely Swedish people and Norwegian people, they love whimsical things. And they weren't with me at all. And all of my examples of the whimsical things that I didn't like were all things they liked. Like things like Wes Anderson films. And it was it was like hundreds of people, and they were all just like, we don't like this guy. It was like, it must be like what if you're a stand-up comedian and you're playing a really hard audience and they're just not with you at all. I just had that horrible feeling the whole time. So I came away.
To myself, but
I came away from that. No. But the moral is, I came away from that talk thinking maybe I should like whimsical things. Like
maybe you already do.
Yeah. Well, no, I think our games are quite kind of whimsical.
So
I don't know why the games we make are the way they are at all, but even when we try and make a really kind of when we try and make something that's more accessible and more normal, it still comes out, and the first thing that people say about it is, what drugs were these guys on when they were making this game?
So it's just natural.
Yeah, we can't help ourselves, unfortunately. Having said that, I think Wilmot's Warehouse is quite a sensible game. It's not, it's
just a work simulator.
Yeah, it's so
just a straightforward work simulator.
Yeah.
So normal, yeah. What do you think inspires? I mean, maybe you don't know the answer, but what do you think? What do you look to for inspiration when you've been designing these games?
Real life.
Real life.
I'm not being facetious. I think Ricky's fed up of me talking about this. I think that even though the things we make aren't particularly realistic, I think there's a lot of realism in them in a funny kind of way. I think Wilmot's Warehouse is a good example of that because it's inspired by jobs I had working in warehouses, and when I had, well, I had two jobs in two different warehouses, and I also had a job in a library, and I'm classing that as a kind of warehouse.
It totally is.
Yeah, and in all those jobs, I really loved the job, and the main reason or one of the reasons I loved the job was because it was kind of like playing a game, in that you could just be better at it if you. The better you knew the warehouse, and the more you kind of optimized your route around it every day as you were putting things away or getting things out, you could really I hate not gamify, but you could treat it like a game, and you could, and I never got bored. I never got bored of it. I always got pleasure out of like knowing exactly where the thing that I needed to get was, and thinking, oh yeah, I can pick those 3 things up on the way to it, and then that's going to save me some time. And I don't know, I'm quite a simple person. That's the sort of thing that I really get a lot of pleasure out of. And like, I'm still like it. Like every morning when I unload the dishwasher, I'm like thinking how I can optimize it for fun. And yeah, that's the inspiration for Wilmot's Warehouse. So
yeah, for when we were finishing Hohokam, Dick was pitching us this idea of a warehouse game, which I think you wanted to be 3D, right? You pitched it as a more straightforward. You're in 3D and you're in a warehouse.
I didn't really know.
It's like when I worked in Boots, and we would just take the piss out of you and go. We had this joke of like, oh yeah, we'll only make this game if it's a warehouse for clowns, and all the stuff is clowns, and it's called Clown Warehouse. And then
that sounds like a horror game to me.
Yeah, and then
we want to make a horror game, by the way. Park that for now.
The second Wilmot character, if you play 2-player, is a clown, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's because of that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of relationship that me and Ricky have, where we really respect each other. Where if one of us doesn't like the other one's game idea, they go, "Oh, yeah, you could have it with clowns."
Yeah. Just like workplace abuse, right?
Yeah. But then one day, Ricky, without even telling me he was doing it, made a little prototype of it.
Well, there's another step here, right? You're making a bunch of art.
Yeah, I made a load of art I had this idea for a game. Well, I had this idea to make all the assets for a game without knowing what the game was. I know it sounds weird.
You wanted it to be a bit like a kind of match 3, a grid of things, right?
I knew it would be a game where all the assets are little square pictures of things, like the stuff in Wilmot's Warehouse. That's what it was. I made hundreds of them, and I started building these kind of relationships between the things. But I didn't really know what the game was. I just thought someone else could take these all these assets and make them into some game.
I mean, you could have just put them on the internet, right? You could have just put them on itch.io as like an asset pack. Like, it was that sort of thing, right? It was just like a set of things.
I've done that.
Used for different games. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. And I was right, because they've now been made into a video game and a board game. So
yeah.
But yeah, so Ricky without telling me he was doing it, he took those assets and he made a prototype of what became Wilmot's Warehouse. Yeah.
I love that. I love that you wanted to do something and you described it, and then Ricky just took it and went with it. That's really fun. I had a question here that was, what came first, Wilmot or the warehouse? I'm learning from this conversation that it was all the junk in the warehouse that came
first.
All
the stuff in the warehouse that came first. Yeah.
Yeah, there was quite a well-developed prototype of that game where there was no Wilmot. Like,
really,
all that you were, at the start, all you were was a cursor that moved around, and you could just pick things up and move them around.
And
for quite a long time,
guy.
Yeah, and well, it was missing the little guy in terms of personality, but also you could just go anywhere, right? You could just, because you were a cursor, you just floated around. And then as soon as we made you be a little guy, we realized that firstly, he's a little guy with a face, but also he now can collide with all the stuff and things he carries.
Wilmot's a he. I love that everyone just assumes Wilmot's a he. I've never. Anyway, that's by the by. Carry on.
Yeah, and then as soon as we made him, he is a him, collide with things, it suddenly added loads of gameplay, because now the more things you carry, the bigger you are. and the harder it is to navigate around.
Yeah.
And then at that point, we pretty much had the makings of a game that we were like,
Yeah.
this, and then everything else just sort of fell out of that.
Yeah. So Wilmot came last almost.
So Wilmot was
Kind of.
last.
I can't
Interesting.
remember. I can't remember the process of designing Wilmot. There's no like. There's no like reject. There's no like other little faces that I drew but I didn't like. If there is, I got rid of the. I lost them, and I can't remember who thought of a
Scribbled them
name.
all out.
Yeah, I can't remember who thought of a name or where the name came from or anything. There's something mysterious about Wilmot. He just kind of appeared from nowhere on my computer one day.
He came from within.
Yeah.
For a while, it was called Wilmot Works in the Warehouse.
Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. I
Uh,
like him owning the warehouse. It's his.
He doesn't know. He just works there.
No.
If you pay attention, Aster, to the game, it tells you that he works there.
Yeah.
It's called.
At the end, he loses his job.
At the end, he gets fired.
But I relate to that, like that kind of like flawed sense of ownership that you shouldn't have.
Yeah.
over your
Okay.
job,
I'll
you know?
take that. I'll
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
that. When I had my job in the library, it wasn't a book library; it was a picture library, and I got made redundant from that job, and I realised how undervalued I'd been there, and yet I kind of felt like I owned that place, and I felt really fond of it, and sometimes I want to go back there, and I wish I could go back both in space and time, and just spend some time looking around there and remembering where everything is, because I loved it there.
I'm really glad that you shared that that's some of the inspiration for the game, or just that you enjoy that kind of stuff. Because when I first played Wilmot's Warehouse, I never imagined that there would be a game like that. And I think I said this to you like in my first week of working at Finji. I think it was one of you I said it to in the Discord. I just said that the game made my brain feel really nice. Like I just had never played anything where I could just categorize stuff, and that was the game, and it was fun. And I don't know, I spend so much time just organizing things, moving things around. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I'm really pleased with that aspect of it. I think it's still it's an unusual game in that respect, and I think people do. Yeah, I think people do find it therapeutic.
Yeah.
It's weird because we've always liked the idea of making games that people find relaxing or people can chill out playing them, but actually Wilmot is a weird one because some people find Wilmot stressful a little bit because there's but it is, but I've got mixed feelings about that, but it is, you can't deny that it is kind of therapeutic in a way that so lots of things in real life are, but not many things in games are, where what you were just describing, Aster, about making your brain feel nice, organizing some stuff. I think that's, regardless of whether or not it has stressful overtones, I think it's also really feels quite like a healthy therapeutic activity, hopefully. I'd like to think so.
I mean, I think so. I guess it depends on your relationship with performance stars. If you really need those, then
really
maybe
want
it's
those
stressful.
performance stars. Yeah, everyone should want performance stars.
I know you both have talked a little bit in the past about the importance of the warehouse as a place. Do you want to talk any more about how you designed the warehouse and what your thought process was for it? Or do you feel like you more or less covered it?
I don't know. But lots of work went into getting it the right size, and the way in which bits of it disappear as you go on. It's a very abstracted warehouse. It's just literally just an empty space, really. It has no atmosphere really as a way. There's some very small bits of background art, but it's a very simple, nothing kind of space, really. It's the stuff you put in it. You build a sort of geography of stuff in it, but that's the player's business. Not it's a blank canvas for the player to build their own like place that they get to know and know where everything is. It's not.
I love seeing the variety of just how different people's layouts are.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was, when we were playing it, there were like, there were only so many people playing the game, so you only had so many different sorts of configurations. I think by the end, you had a pretty much a solid way that you would do things, right? But when the game came out, and people started sharing their time lapses and their screenshots, there were so many different ways of laying that stuff out, so many different topologies or geography.
Yeah, some are bonkers. Some are like, ooh,
Yeah.
I'm worried about you.
Yeah.
You're worried.
I'm worried about that person. Yeah, lots of color sorters, and if there's any color sorters watching this stream, I don't hate you. You're okay. You're just not my people. But no, it's fine to sort by color, like it, but it's not what I would do. But it's fine. I actually, when I played the game a lot. Normally, when I'm working on a game, I find it hard to play it much. But Wilmot was the opposite. I played it too much almost while I was working on it, and I found myself deliberately playing it in different, like role playing, being different people, deliberately playing it in different ways. But I do have a preferred way. I have a way that I think is the best way.
I was going to say, what is your way?
I'm probably wrong though. Well, it's hard to explain, but it's to do with like the width of corridors and where they should be, and whether or not you should organize by color, and one big rule, which is that anything that in my head I think of as being abstract, like not obviously a representation of a thing, goes on the left-hand side of the warehouse, and anything that's figurative goes on the right-hand side. That's my big rule. And in my head, I think that's the perfect way to play it. But just because I made the game, it doesn't mean I've got any clue as to whether that's.
Have you played?
The only time I've ever seen anyone who made the game also being the best at playing it is Terry Kavanagh playing Super Hexagon. He is the best
to watch.
He is the best at playing his own game. I don't think most people are the best people at playing their own game. I think it's a disadvantage, if anything.
I could see that. You're too familiar. Have you played much Wilmot's Warehouse in co-op? I've been afraid to play with my girlfriend. Like, I don't know if our relationship can handle it, if I'm being honest.
I've heard that before. Yeah, I've heard that before.
No, I've not actually. I've barely ever played co-op. I think I've played it for testing. I've never actually played it for fun in co-op. I should do that one day.
Yeah, maybe we got to get you and Ricky to play together one day.
God, no.
Test the partnership.
You could have a competition. You could have a Finji competition where the winner gets to play Wilmot co-op with either me or Ricky.
Yeah, I think this might need to happen. I think.
Imagine that. Awful.
For them.
Before we move on to the board game, which I am so excited to talk about, I'm curious if we could get a little bit of Wilmot lore. So I know Wilmot came last, and you don't quite know where he came from in a design sense. But what's Wilmot's story? Does he ever leave the warehouse? Is there anything, what is there to Wilmot?
He leaves the warehouse. Yeah.
He lives in the Midlands.
In the title screen, you can see him going into the warehouse. So
okay,
presumably he gets to leave at some point. The game is set in the late 80s and early 90s. Don't ask me why. I don't know. And it's set in the Midlands of the UK. It's set in a town called Lutterworth, which is, you can look it up. It's in Leicestershire, and it's not a particularly remarkable place, but it's become, because it's right in the middle of the country and it's near lots of major roads, it's become a logistics hub, and it's all everywhere around it is all warehouses, huge ones, and that's been true since the 70s, I think, but lately it's become, since people started buying things on the internet, it's become even more true.
Now they're all painted that weird sky blue color.
They are,
I'm
yeah.
trying to pretend
Yeah.
that they don't exist by
Yeah.
sort of making them blend into the sky.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And it won't surprise you that I'm from that part. I'm not from Lutterworth, but I'm from near Lutterworth. And like from the village I grew up in, like the field where we used to walk the dog near my mum's house, when you look at what used to be a real view of fields and things, it's now just an Amazon warehouse.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not just, but it dominates the, as you can imagine, it sort of dominates the view. And yeah, so that's where Wilmot's warehouse is set, is in that part of the world. But I think Wilmot doesn't work for Amazon. He works like when the game came out, a lot of people talked about it being an Amazon simulator.
It's set before Amazon.
Yeah, that's why it's set in the 80s and 90s.
There's no computer system.
Yeah.
It's like when Dick was doing jobs in the 80s.
He works in a nice he works in a nice warehouse where it's on a human scale, and people get toilet breaks and they get and they enjoy their jobs in the way that I did when I worked in warehouses. And we have to remind ourselves that even now, today in 2024, most warehouses are still like that. It's not all Amazon. I know it's easy to look at Wilmot's warehouse and think, "Oh, Amazon," but actually, the world is full of warehouses, full of, I don't know, BMX bicycle parts or jigsaws or floristry accoutrements or whatever that where normal people live and work, and it isn't some horrible dystopian thing. And that's what Wilmot's warehouse is. That's the world that Wilmot's warehouse is set in, I think, at least at the beginning of the game.
I mean, you do have those moments where you can just, like, there's no clock and you can just, there's no customers and you can just enjoy sorting things. Which is, I think, my favorite mode. But
yeah, we spent a lot of time figuring out
Amazon.
those stock takes and how often they should come and what they would feel like. I think originally the stock take had a timer that went down, and when it went down all the way down, you could just re-top it up. And then we were like,
yeah, but that was still stressing people out. That was
we didn't need that tool. Yeah.
It's nice to have all the time you want, really.
Oh yeah, unless you have something you need to be doing, which happens to me often. I'll just be stuck organizing things.
Yeah, same here. Well, I'm trying to think of more Wilmot lore. There's been lots of speculation as to whether Wilmot's got legs.
Well, the Discord has had a lot of conversation about whether or not he has a butt.
Yeah, that as well. I'd forgotten about that, Aster. Thank you for that.
Sorry.
And somebody, and as how he would wear trousers, but he actually does in the game wear dungarees at one point. So
Wilmot has a butt. If he wears dungarees, he's got a butt, hasn't he? Stands to reason. He's got hands. He's got feet.
He's got hands. He's got genitals.
Yeah. It's just a guy. He's just a guy.
He's got it all. Oh, I love him. It's weird, isn't it? I'm going to make some Wilmot t-shirts soon. I've been screen printing t-shirts a bit as a sort of hobby lately, and I really want to make some Wilmot ones that are just his face really big.
Oh please! Yeah. Oh please!
Yeah,
I would.
I'm going to do it.
The heck out of that.
I want cushion covers with different facial expressions on either side, so you can flip them.
I mean, he really is pillow shaped. So,
Ricky, you could just buy one of the tote bags and turn it into a cushion cover quite easily.
That's what someone said.
I just said it.
Board game. No, when the board game came out, said they were going to buy loads of copies and turn them into cushion covers.
Oh yeah, because there's a bag. There's a Wilmot bag in the board game, isn't there? That's right.
Is there? Yeah. I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, there's a sort of cloth bag that all the pieces live in, and it looks like Wilmot.
Is it like the tote?
Yeah, well, it's smaller, but yeah.
Smaller. Okay. I love the tote.
The weird thing about the board game is that Wilmot doesn't actually feature that much in it, because he doesn't really have a place in the way that he does in the game. And we had a bit of trouble sort of getting him into the game almost, because we thought about putting him on the back of all the cards, but that's too much. That felt too many Wilmots. And
he's in the book a lot.
He's in the rule book a lot, and he features on the cards in a sort of more subtle way. and he's on that tote bag thing.
Well,
But
that's where
anyone who's
the
never,
t-shirt would
anyone
come
who's,
in.
oh, sorry, Esther, say that again.
That's where the t-shirt would come in. If you make the
Yeah.
t-shirts, we can all wear Wilmot when we
Yeah.
play.
But anyone who plays the game who's never played the video game would be like, why is this face, weird square face everywhere? Because it has nothing to do with the game, really. But I like that.
I like that too. I mean, that's a really wonderful. I don't know if you did this on purpose, but that was a great segue to the board game. So we
Oh
should.
yeah,
we should
I'm so
talk about
professional
it.
like that.
You could host this talk if you want to.
So Aster, tell me.
We had some really big news this week. Obviously, there's going to be a Wilmot's Warehouse board game. I am dying to have this. I heard a little bit of this story just when the three of us were chatting, and I've been dying to hear more about it. So I'd love to know, where did the idea for a Wilmot's board game come from?
So I run a board games night, which in London, which a bunch of friends come to, like mostly games people, like video games people, but some other folks as well. My friend David King is he's a lecturer, he's an academic at London College of Communication. He teaches game design, and he
he's a game designer as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he very often brings prototypes for things he's made, like normally quite small, simple things to try out. Some of them more complicated, but like mostly it's just things that he's come up with and then brought just to try out with friends. And he played Wilmot's Warehouse, and then he had this idea for a game that was a bit like, had the same kind of sorting vibe going on, which was really simple. It was just like a whole bunch of squares which he'd drawn these sort of little diagrams on, like little symbols. And all we did was we sat around the table, and you flipped one off the stack, and then you had to like decide where it was going to go on the pub table. And then later on, we'd have to find them all. They were just paired up. That was the whole game. And there was no real rules, but really quickly we just started organizing ourselves, because you're sitting around a pub table. You started like coming up with places for them to go, and it was already just fun talking about where they should go and arguing about what they were, even though they were just like squares and circles and stars and stuff. And then we liked that enough that it was like, oh, well, I wonder how this would work with Wilmot's Warehouse art. Like, what if we tried that? And then David did a test of that, just like, I sent him a bunch of the art, and he made a version which was just the same, but with Wilmot's Warehouse art. And we were like, yeah, this seems pretty good as well. And then COVID happened, and we were all stuck at home, and we had to start designing it online. And we basically made a kind of like a board games IO version of it. Do you remember that, Dick? And we used to like,
that's where it started becoming fun, because that's the first time I played it. And Adam Saltzman from Finji, he played it, and me, Ricky, David, who else? Nathan Black. Can't remember who else.
That might be it.
Yeah. Anyway, we started playing it online, and it became like a weekly thing. And during lockdown, it was like one of those things that was like a highlight of my week, getting to play this weird game.
Quite quickly we realized we needed a grid.
Yeah. And we realized that the gameplay, and this is very different to the video. This is the thing that it's superficially like the video game. The name's the same, and the artwork is nearly the same. And it's set in a warehouse. But the thing that the board game does that the video game doesn't do is it's about making up stories. And we realized that the way to remember where everything goes is to kind of make connections between things that are kind of story driven, I guess. So you're sort of saying, oh, well, this goes on, this is this thing that looks a bit like a hat, this can be this guy's hat, and then you get another thing that looks a bit like a hat, so then you put that on top of the other hat, and then you have to say, well, the reason he's got multiple hats is because he's I don't know, I'm not very good at making up stories, but as you can tell. But yeah, that's the thing that really became like what's good about the game, I think. And we just kept exploring that more and more. So look, this is quite a long time ago. So this is during that first lockdown.
Yeah.
And then between then and now, there's been periods where we didn't do much. It just nothing happened for a bit, and then there's periods where stuff happened, and then at some point a prototype was made, and that found its way into various people's hands
Yeah,
via
there was a point at
mysterious.
which we were able to meet up again in real life, and
Yeah,
as soon as we could meet up in real life and we had like a prototype board with like a bunch of tiles, by then we'd like figured out what the best tiles were, like from Wilmot's Warehouse. Like we pretty much just discarded all the ones which were too abstract, apart from a few, and we discarded all the ones that were just too obviously a thing.
yeah, it
And
was a
all
sweet
the
spot,
and then the ones in the middle were the winners.
and there weren't
And
enough of those.
yeah, and we spent a long time like sitting in like at board game meets and sitting in pubs like playing it and just seeing how good the stories were and how funny it was, and just iterating like over quite a long time, maybe a year of just doing that, and Dick drawing some stuff and tweaking the set of the set of tiles is there are some that are just straight from Wilmot's Warehouse, right? But quite a lot of them are either new or
Nearly
they've
all
been
of them are
modified.
different. There are
Yeah.
some that are exactly the same. There's a lot which have just been altered ever so slightly to make them more ambiguous. A really good example of that is on the, you can see it if you look at a pack shot of the box. There's one which is in the video game, it's a mitten, it's a yellow mitten, and it's obviously a mitten. And in the board game, it's like a weird two-handed mitten that makes no sense, that you might think is a mitten, but you might think is something else completely different. And that's a good example of what happened. So nearly all of them got changed into being more ambiguous things, or there were loads of new ones made as well, which are also more ambiguous, which I think if you were to put those into the video game, it might just be too, I don't know, maybe it'd work well. Maybe it'd work well, but I think the video game, you need more variety. You need ones that are almost just completely abstract, like this is just a spot. And you need other ones that are just like, this is definitely a tent. It can't be anything else.
Yeah.
Whereas with the board game, you really need them all to be in that kind of sweet spot of I'm not sure what this thing is. And
Yeah,
that's why
the best ones were the ones where when we were like yes or no to this tile, everybody said it was something different. And then when everyone said it was something different, we're like, yes, that one's definitely a killer.
yeah.
Like,
It's really fun for me as a sort of visual artist. Really fun challenge to try and come up with as many things as I can that do that job of being like ambiguous things, and quite a strange thing to do. And yeah, I like what came out of it, I think.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
I know you two worked with CMYK and also Shut Up and Sit Down to actually create the game. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience, how you worked together?
Yeah, well, so Matt from Shut Up and Sit Down gave CMYK a copy, and they were already fans of the video game, and they played it, and they were into it. That's how it started. And then
apparently when they played the video game, they thought about a board game like it.
You're kidding.
Yeah, and then thought, I don't know, did they think about contacting us? Anyway, whatever. They but apparently, yeah, they'd already played the video game and kind of had that discussion. And then Matt, yeah, sorry, I've derailed. Yeah, I've jumped in. Ricky, you carry on.
They put us in touch, and we all just jumped on a call and started chatting. And it was already clear that like they totally got why the game was good. Like they played the prototype of the game that we'd played, and they liked it for exactly the same reasons. And broadly, their process was like, this is already good. Our job should just be to release this and do a really amazing, they always do an amazing job with production of their games. All their games are so beautiful. And it's just like, do no harm to this game mechanically and just make it amazing as a product. And then we just basically spent a year just like fine tuning it with them. Just like there was a process with Dick of fine tuning the art and choosing products. And, the folks at Shut Up and Sit Down and CMYK were like super helpful with that stuff. And there was also a process of just like refining the rules. And then a big part of the end was just like figuring out how to communicate that this is definitely a game about telling stories. Because if you play Wilmots and you don't tell stories with your friends, then it's not very fun. It's not fun just trying to remember what these things are without telling some big, stupid, rambling story that you're all collaborating on. And so every bit of the communication, from like the box to the rule book to the videos, all had to do a really good job of just explaining and selling that as what makes the game good. So that was quite a long process. But yeah, they were great to work with. They were so like nice and
Yeah,
like, easy
everyone's
to
been
chat to, and it's been lovely.
Yeah,
I
everyone's
love
been
that.
nice.
It makes me
Yeah.
want to bring that to the video game. Like, I wonder if I could survive co-op with my girlfriend if we were telling each other stories about things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, potentially.
I like that. I hear that you have a prototype of the game. I know it's like earlier prototype than the final version, but
Yeah,
I
we
was
don't actually
hoping we
have.
could get
We've not actually got our hands on the production board game yet.
yeah.
I think it all might be a scam. I don't think it really exists. The pack. Have you seen the photos of it online? It looks like it looks like computer art to me. It doesn't look real.
It's stunning.
I think they're scamming
us. They're not scamming us. Everybody pre-order.
Okay, yeah, pre-order. Yeah, no, it's real. It's real.
It's not a made-up story.
Trust
that?
me.
What's that?
Oh, that's a wizard's hat.
It's a wizard's hat. Right, okay, it's going there. Right, what's that?
Aster, what's that?
A shield?
Yeah, see, that's too obviously just a shield. That's why that one's not. I don't think that one's in the final game for that reason.
Let's put it here.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, that's a clock.
Okay. Yeah, but why? Okay, so it's. Oh God.
So we got the wizard's hat.
Yeah.
And then we've got the shield.
Yeah.
So there's the wizard, and there's a guy with a shield. And where are they going? They're going to Big Ben.
Okay, they're going to Big Ben. Sorry, I'm really not very.
What's that?
Oh,
Aster, it's your turn.
Hang on, I have your camera a little cut. I think. Let me try to fix.
Hold it more in the middle.
Oh yeah, put it. But that's easier. There you go.
Yeah.
That is a walnut.
It's a wizard's walnut.
He's
protecting that. He has to protect that from the guy with the shield, so it has to go on the other side of him.
It's really important.
He has to protect the walnut at all costs.
That's the walnut. There's the wizard.
Yeah.
That's Big Ben, and there's the guy with the shield. This is all this game is. What's that?
A little to the right.
Oh, sorry. There. Yeah.
That's a good game, by the way. No, a little to the left is a good game.
It is. I mean, that looks to me like a present, like a box.
It's a present. Yeah.
Is that where the walnuts go? Into the box?
No. The man with the shield's bringing in the present to give to the wizard. He's not actually attacking him at all. No. It's the wizard's birthday, and he's come early for the party.
Great. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like this.
I didn't realise you were going to make us like try and play the bloody game like this.
This is the last one.
Oh, that's a fish.
That's a tropical fish. Yeah, that's the face of a tropical fish.
Yeah, a fish with a big eye.
Where are we putting it? What does
he's the wizard's familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the wizard, yeah?
Yeah.
Tropical
there you
fish.
go. Yeah.
All right. So we got what? There's the wizard.
Yes.
There's the guy with the shield.
Yes.
There's Big Ben that they're going to.
Yeah.
There's the walnut that the wizard's protecting. And there's the present that the guy with the shield's giving to the wizard. There you go.
Yeah. That's the fish.
And the fish. Sorry. Oh yeah. And
there's
the tropical fish that's the wizard's familiar.
Yeah, I think some of these cards were outside of what people could see, Ricky. That's the problem.
No. I think you did a good job.
Okay, fine.
It's pretty.
Yeah. Well done.
Thanks.
That's fun. I like that.
So go and buy this game now. now you've seen what madcap fun it is.
Now I understand why the images needed to be ambiguous. I was trying to follow that earlier when you were saying that, and I was wondering like why does it need to be? And now I understand because it makes the stories more fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Everybody, please pre-order it now. If you do exclamation Wilmot in the chat, it'll bring you to the trailer, which is fantastic. Definitely watch the trailer. And also the link to pre-order. I'm forgetting right now. I had it in my mind, but I'm forgetting right now when it actually comes out. Do you two know, or should I quickly look it up?
Pre-orders. It starts shipping on August the 6th. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
August 6th. Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's
soon. You can pre-order now though, but it just won't get shipped until it.
However, if you are not in North America, it might not be. I don't know. Like, there's only stock in North America, so if you, it's not going. It's going to take a while to get to Europe. We know some people that have already pre-ordered it in Europe, and they've pre-ordered a load of them in order to save money on the shipping.
Yeah.
I don't know, what am I trying to tell people? I just know that there are a lot of people who are annoyed that there's not stock in Europe yet, but
There will be.
Well, there will be if they ordered enough.
Board games are. We've never made a board game before, and it's very different to video games in that they're physical things that have to be moved around the world by on boats and airplanes and things. So so once the game comes out, there's this whole like long, slow process of the games getting into the places where people can get them. And CMYK I think they're doing the best they can to get the games into the right distributors and the right stores and stuff like that.
It's very different, isn't it? Releasing a video game and releasing a board game. Very different feeling.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Do you think you would ever make another board game?
Yeah, I'd be into it.
Yeah,
I hope so. Yeah.
I would love to see it.
Yeah,
it was a lovely count. When you're working on a video game, there's lots of periods where you're just working on like horrible, complicated technical stuff, and it was so refreshing to also be working on a board game where you could just deal with rules and decisions about bits of cardboard. Yeah, for you.
Yeah.
For me as the person doing the art, it was all horrible, complicated technical stuff.
Yeah, good.
No, it's not that bad. I'd like to design a sport next. I think we've done video game, we've done board game. We need to invent a sport.
Ambitious.
Yeah.
No, real sport, like a competitive sport, and
in the Olympics.
Hopefully, at some point, hopefully at some point get it into the Olympics. Yeah.
Do you have any idea what it would be?
No, not yet.
Not yet. It'll come to you. The art will come first. We'll have the pictures of how to play first.
Yeah.
That honestly, I don't know how, but that does bring us to the end of our conversation. An hour went by so fast.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
My last question for you was going to be, what's next for you two? But it sounds like you're gonna be making some kind of sport.
Yeah.
No, but really, what's next for you two?
Yeah, Dick's going to make a big, strange. He's going to whittle from a huge piece of wood a kind of implement, and then I'm going to have to figure out how the sport's going to work.
Please.
No, real talk. We're working on another game.
Exciting.
Nothing to say about that. We also have some ideas for. We always have too many ideas for games. Like we're very. Our relationship is based on talking about ideas for games that may or may not ever happen, and that's just how we roll, really. So we've got lots of things like that maybe happening, and that's it.
How do you share those ideas? Like I'm imagining like voice notes, just like rambling voice notes.
No, but that would be good. No, we're not voice note people. No, we have some friends who are in America who they leave voice notes for us, a very short. What are they called? Micro songs.
Micro songs.
Yeah. Do we get these micro song voice notes from these friends of ours, and sometimes we do micro songs, but walking down the road. Idea for a game. I'm trying to think of a stupid idea for a game now. I'm going to give you a real idea. One of my real ideas. I'm going to throw it away just for this.
Just for the bit.
Idea for a game. Hang on. Idea for a game. Slow Tetris. It's like normal Tetris, but really slow. And that's it.
I mean, yeah, that's how I was sharing ideas with my friend, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I'd send that to Ricky, and then he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm into this slow Tetris idea. We can pitch it to the people who own the rights to Tetris." Yeah, bulletproof software, and see if they're interested in a collaboration. Oh no, we're going to get the band back together, Aster. That's our.
Oh yeah.
Please do, and maybe we could do it on the Finji show.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. Do all songs about Finji games.
Well, massive congratulations on both Flock and the Wilmot's Warehouse board game. I'm delighted about both of them. Folks in the chat, if you haven't already seen, there is a bundle of all of their games that you can get on Steam, including Wilmot, but also Flock, Hohokam, I Am Dead. There's others that I'm forgetting.
No, I think that's it in the bundle, isn't it?
I think that there's one more that I'm blanking on the name.
Oh, is it
Loot Rascals.
Loot Rascals? Yeah.
Loot Rascals. There you go.
Yeah. I didn't have anything to do with that, so comes in a bundle
you
though.
can get them all in a bundle right now on
No, it's
Steam.
really good. It is really good.
It's discounted.
Unfortunately, you don't get Bluetooth by then.
No.
But please look it up. It's BAFTA winning. So
we don't even know where the BAFTA is anymore.
Really? Have you lost it? Someone stole that.
We lost the BAFTA. It might have fallen down behind something, but I think we might have just lost it.
That's not, Ricky. Don't say things like that. There are people out there who would give their left arm for a video game BAFTA. You should find that and polish it.
Oh, gosh. Well, thank you both for the laughs. It was so much fun having you on here. Let's do it again soon. And yeah, huge congratulations on everything this month.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you, people are watching. Thank you, Aster.
Thanks, everybody.
How do we end this? Do we just wave and say goodbye, or do you like a Zoom call?
I'm gonna change the channel.
Okay. Bye.